Complete a square, lesson 1. This is for you, Brandon. Have fun with this, all right? All right, so what happens with completing the square? All right, so completing the square is another way to factor. Okay, there's a couple ways to factor. You should already know. When you're factoring something, you know the FOIL method, right?
Yeah.
Okay, which is a guess and check method. Okay, you should also know quadratic, which if you don't know, you'll learn, and I'm not worried about that one, quadratic equations. And then there's this one called completing the square. All right, completing the square is a very valuable one because it's used regularly, and it's the only way to be able to solve the problems we are going to have to do in order to find the equation of a circle. Okay, so therefore you do have to learn it because that's the only way to solve them. Yes.
What's the second word?
It's quadratic. It's a quadratic formula. We're not going to go over it today because this is not Algebra 2. Algebra 2, you'll learn that for sure. You will learn completing the square, but this will help you. It'll be a review section rather than a brand new learning section because you should have learned this in Algebra 1. All right, so. Plus 10. All right, so here we go. Ready? So when you're doing completing the square, the only way to factor this problem, can you factor this with a guess and check method? What are the factors of 10?
Yeah.
2 and
2
5.
and 5.
2 and 5, 1 and 10, right? Do any of them add up to 4? No. This would have to be 7 or it would have to be 11. Is everybody following me? Because if they're both addition, you add them together. That's how you know how you should do them. Okay? So when you're doing guess and check method, if you never learned this, what you do is you take this sign, the last sign. If it's a plus sign, you add them together. You add them. If the sign is negative, you subtract them. Everybody following me here? On your two things. Then this sign up here tells you whether they're positive or negative. Okay? So when you're doing guess and check, that's how I do it, and that's how I do it quickly in my head. So if I was doing this, watch. This is what you would do. X, X. So look at this sign. What's this sign?
Plus.
Then it's positive, so you know they're adding them. So then you come here. This sign is what?
Positive.
So these two signs are both positive. You know that right away. Is everybody following me? Then you look at the factors and you put them in. Does that make sense? In this case, this problem doesn't work, so you wouldn't be able to do that. But that's how you would do it. Let's say, now what would it be?
You would add both.
X, X, look at this sign. So what are the two signs? They're going to be the same and they're added, but how do you know which sign it is? So they're going to both be minus. Okay? This is the quick way to learn to do the guess and check method. Alright? So then you look at your factors. 10 minus 10 plus, they don't work again, it still doesn't work. Does that make sense? Let's just say I give you one. Let's see if I can get one to make it work here. Plus 2x plus 1. Alright, so now, what do we got? What are our factors, right? X and X, right? What are our factors of 1? 1 and 1, right? So we look at our first sign. What's this sign? So then we look at this sign. So what are they? And then my factors of 1 that add up to 2 are?
1.
And then you're done.
I feel
Does that
like
make
we've learned
sense?
this in some
I'm hoping you've learned a little bit of it. Whether you've learned the rules or not, that's up to you. But I teach the rule, like trying to tell you the rules. Here's the rules when you guess and check. You look at the signs, and that determines if they're plus or minus, if they're subtracting them or adding them. That's the first rule. And then you check the first sign to determine if they're both positive or both negative. So if you have, listen, here's how you remember it. If you have it looks like this, let me ask you a question. How many lines are there? 2. So they're both positive or they're both negative.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, so if I have this.
That
makes so much sense.
Oh, come on, Todd. Think here.
6.
Minus 6. I want minus though. Minus. so. Yeah. All right, here we go. Ready? So watch. Everybody watch. Sine. One line, 2 lines.
One.
So therefore, when I do my thing, you only get one of each sign. One of each sign. So a positive and a negative. One of each. This one is 2 of each because there's 2 lines. Or 2 negatives. Either one. This will be helpful when we get to completing the square. So be following along with me, please. Now, what are our factors of 8? 1 and 8, 2 and, those are our options. So now, this sign determines what? Whether we add or subtract, right? So if it's negative, what are you doing? So 4 minus 2 is? Is that work? Or 8 minus 2 is 7, so that doesn't work, right? Does that make sense? 8 minus 1, I'm sorry. 8 minus 1 is 7. Okay? So now, watch carefully. 4 minus 2 is 2. Now, how do I know which one is 4 and which one is 2? Based on this sign. Which one's bigger? The 4, because it needs to come out negative. So it's going to be x minus 4, x plus 2. So is everybody following how you would factor this?
So the
Go ahead.
bigger one goes in the negative.
Excuse me?
So the bigger one goes in the
If the first sign is negative, the negative, the bigger one goes negative. If it looks like this, now what? Which sign's bigger?
before we go on the
X plus, minus, right?
Wait, minus plus.
Either one. So 4, 2, because 4 is going to be bigger than 2, right? Because we want a positive number. Okay? So that's how you do these problems in the guess and check method. So you check your signs, then check the first sign. That's how you do them. Check first sign, check second sign. Yes, Dan.
So when you get your answer, could you use the FOIL method to make sure you got the right one?
Then you do the FOIL method to figure it out.
Okay.
Yes.
If you had let's say like x squared plus 4x minus 10, would they both be negative?
Well, what would I do? If it's negative, what happened?
Subtract them.
Okay, right. So if it's negative, then they're both. Okay, you gotta follow the signs. You follow this sign first, and that's how you determine whether you get plus or minus, or plus plus or minus minus. Does that make sense? You should be good at this by now, as you should be able to do these without thinking. Okay, so if you're not, then you need to go back and do it.
If I got the photo, I'll send it to you.
You're welcome, Faith. All right, so now let's do completing the square.
That wasn't even it.
FOIL.
That was just simple guess and
That
check.
wasn't foil.
It's just guess and check.
That wasn't FOIL?
Well, you.
Oh, Baker.
All right, here we go. Ready? Completing the square. So let's complete the square of the problem that we had initially up here. This one up here. All right, so here we go. X squared plus 4x plus 10. All right, everybody good so far? I'm gonna copy it. I don't want this blue. You can't see. All right, so first step. You have to move the final coefficient to the other side. X squared plus 4x. Leave a blank space. And if I want to get it to the other side of the equal sign, what's it going to be?
Negative.
Negative 10. Does everybody follow me? Okay? So, first step, move third coefficient.
Would there still be an addition sign in the blank?
Where?
When you move the 10, you
There's
put
no,
the blank.
is there an addition sign there?
No.
Then probably not.
Okay.
What does it say?
You'll find out in a second. Coefficient. Move third coefficient. This is the third coefficient. 1, 2, 3. Okay?
Okay.
I love how you didn't ask specifically what a coefficient was. Why?
Because we should.
I know we
I would
should.
hope you know
I
what a
know we
coefficient
should.
I
is.
know.
literally learned this.
I know what a coefficient is.
Don't
I'll do that.
probably shouldn't do
She's just asking why she assumed.
Thank you. Please.
I
Oh.
assume because you're a genius. All right, here we go. Is that what you wanted to hear? Is that what
No,
you looking for some
no,
words of
not
confirmation?
really.
Affirmation.
Not really.
Affirmation. There's the word. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Ready? So, what do we do next? Here's the next thing. So, in order to complete the square, move third coefficient. That's step 1. Step 2. Step 2. Divide second coefficient. Divide the second coefficient. Okay? So, and square it. I'll explain this in a second. Okay, so once everybody writes that down, then look up here so I can show you how it works. And then square it. So everybody ready?
Yes.
Once everybody's looking up at me. I know everybody else knows how to do this, so here we go. Second coefficient. Okay, watch. 4 divided by 2.
2.
What is the answer?
2.
2. Everybody good?
Yes.
Square it.
4.
So, what you do, if it's plus, then it's plus 4. If it's plus 4. Now watch. What you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other. Okay? So, where I get this 4 from is this. Divide by 2, square it. The third step is what you do to one side. Just remember, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. That should just be a friendly reminder. All right, so far so good. Are we all good? Okay, what don't you understand?
The second problem the second step you got plus 4 because you divided by 2.
Square.
Was that specific to this problem, or will you do that in every?
You will do that step in every problem.
We'll divide every number by 2.
Whatever that middle number is, you will divide by 2 and you'll square it every time.
Okay.
No matter if that number is 5 million or 2 or 1 or 0. Okay? These are the steps to solving this problem. So you will do this every time. Every time you complete the square,
Okay.
you will follow the steps that are writing on the board.
Okay.
I don't write for fun. I hate writing. Now, we're almost done.
Would you mind doing the next step in black? Like,
Oh,
yes.
yes.
It's a pattern. It was a simple suggestion.
Now, for the fancy people in the room,
What is it's going?
The second one, you need
Yeah.
to make the
It needs
number
to
in
be
blue.
blue. No!
So you might as well erase it all.
Or we could try to master the concept.
we could worry about the concept, or we could
It's
worry
easier.
about.
Oh,
why is that
whoa, hold on. This is wrong.
I just say nothing. I just
Kenya, you can't say anything. All right. Step 4.
1, 3, 2, 4.
Yeah, do it however you want.
One,
That-
three.
You asked for it. You asked for it. I was- you guys asked for that.
Thank you.
Why
Why
you so picky?
Next.
You started it.
All right, next.
Sorry, it just going.
Next. What you'll end up with is x. Now think about this. If I were to factor it, what would it look like? X plus 2 squared equals -6. Now, listen. Just
I stop.
thank you. I'm going to show you and going to tell you. I know. All right, now listen. Here's the next step that you always make. The next step you always make. Everybody look.
Stupid thing.
You good? You good? Now remember, all this stuff I taught you over here, it's all going to come in handy now.
Oh boy.
If it's plus, which it is, right?
Yes.
And this is plus, then what are these going to be?
Plus.
Good. So if this is plus, which is always, and by the way, this is always going to be plus. Why?
Because you divide.
Because you squared it.
Square.
You divide it and you square it. So if this number is negative 10, what would it be? Negative 10 divided by 2 is a negative 5. Negative 5 squared is,
25.
is everybody good? But it's a positive 25.
Wait, what?
You got to follow with me. You guys lose me, and then I have to repeat myself, and then the next person gets confused because you're not paying attention. So if I have negative 10x, I divide by 2. What does that give me? A negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. Positive, because when you square a negative, it becomes
Positive.
so. This sign only matters for this answer down here. And I'm going to show you how you can do it without having to think. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to write the steps so you don't have to think, you just automatically do. Okay? I just want you to be able to understand where it came from. And I did that earlier. So watch carefully where this comes from and how you do it. Your fourth step, in order to finish completing the square, there's 5 steps. The fourth step, what you do is you get the parentheses squared of the number divided by 2. So watch, look at it. What was this?
4.
Positive 4 divided by 2 is?
2.
So all you have to do to do this actual factoring, so your step 4 is write second coefficient in parentheses. Squared. Just like that, squared. Every time. So when you do it, watch. Everybody look up. Let me show you why. And for some reason, I try to teach this. It's the easiest way to do it. Because you can do it this way every time. Just let me finish, and then you can ask questions. What you do. So in order to get this number to add to this side, what do? Divide by 2, square it, add it to both sides. Do you agree with me? Everybody good with that? But when I divide by 2, I can actually write this answer right here. Because it automatically always will be whatever that center number is divided by 2. Is everybody following me? Always. And then your last step to finish the problem is bring back your other coefficient. Bring back that third coefficient. So here it is, x plus 2 squared. Now it's going to be plus 6. Technically, that's all equal to y, essentially, in a math problem. Okay? Okay? So that's how you would do this problem. So everybody follow the steps. Now let's do some problems. Before you ask a ton of questions, let's do some problems. Because I think if you follow the steps, you're gonna knock it out like this. And here's the best part about it. You can actually use this as opposed to the guess and check method every time. So if you're better at doing it this way, then you just do your problems this way. If you're better at doing it guess and check, do it at guess and check. Those that struggle with guess and check are because you have a hard time visualizing your different coefficients, okay? Your ordered pairs, and being able to subtract them to not follow these rules. This is easier a lot of times for many people. So it's an opportunity for you to be able to do it quickly and efficiently. So let's do another problem. And the nice thing is you can solve any problem. You can factor any problem this way.
We do one
Okay.
homework.
Huh?
We do one.
We will. You have to understand how to do the system first. If you don't understand how to do the system, then you can't do the home problems. So the home problems take completing the square one step further, and I'll explain that when we get there. All right? We're not there yet. All right, so here we go. Ready? So let's try another problem here. Alright, x plus 10, x minus 5. Alright, so here we go. First step. What's our first step?
Move third.
Move the third coefficient. X squared plus 10x
Equals 5.
blank equals 5. Alright? Everybody good so far?
Yes.
Okay? Now what?
Just by the second coefficient.
Now, when I'm doing this problem, here's how I cheat. Okay? You can do this. Okay? Why?
You know,
Because I know when I do the divide by 2, I'm going to write it here, and then I'm going to square it to put it here. Does that make sense? Because I know I have to. I'm going to have to write it here anyway, so I might as well just do it in the process, and then I don't forget, and then I don't have to re-solve it later. Okay, so what's it going to be? 10 divided by 2 is?
5.
Plus or minus?
Plus.
So plus 5. 5 squared is?
25.
25.
Add it, right? So what I do to one side, I do to the other, right?
Yep.
Now what do I do?
Right second.
That was step 3. Step 4, we get this down, which is?
Right second.
30.
And now what?
Bring it back.
Minus 30. And there you're done. Everybody following this?
Yeah.
This wasn't that hard, was it?
No.
It's a lot easier than you think. Okay? Let's do another one.
Wait,
Weak foot.
I'm slow. I gotta write the problem up. I gotta see the right problem.
when did you do the fourth step?
I did it as I was going. I did the second step and the fourth step together. So look. What I did. So this is the step right here. And what I did is when I divided 10, I wrote it here, which is actually my fourth step. But the thing is a lot of people, and here's the problem. I'm trying to help you avoid one of the common mistakes students make. The common mistake students make, go, okay, I get 25 here, and then they put 25 here. So I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to make it easier for you. Okay? So you do 2 and 4 at the same time, is what you do. Number 3 is just to remind you to make sure that if you do something to one side, you do it to the other. Does that make sense? And that really isn't a step. It's more of like just a reminding tool. All right, so let's do the next one here. All right, everybody ready? Let's do 2. All right, everybody ready? Okay, so what are we going to do? Move it over, right? 8x, give my blank, equals negative 2, right? Now what?
You can add your
Okay, divide by 2. So I'm going to put my little sign here so I don't have to remember. I don't like having to do that later, right?
Yep.
So negative 8 divided by 2 is?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. Negative 4 squared is?
Negative 16.
Positive 16. So what I do to one side, I must do to the
Other.
So now I'm done. Negative 2 plus 16 is going to give me a positive what?
14.
And now I move it back over. X minus 4 squared minus 14. Everybody follow?
Yes.
Any questions? This is pretty straightforward, isn't it? If you have the steps. If you've never done this and you don't have the steps, these are very difficult. Okay? And now that you understand it, does this make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
All right, any questions?
I get how to do it and everything, but what happens to the number in the blank? Like, I know you don't put it down after the second step, the third step, but what
Disappears
happens?
after you do it
I'm
together.
learning, I'm trying to factor. It's just a step to get to factor.
Okay.
It's like when you play a video game, right? You only find out what you do in the end, right? Like all the little steps in the process, you kind of forget about, right? It's kind of what's happening here. But that's why you have to remember to add it to both sides so that you keep it equal.
Okay.
Okay? Any questions? I'm gonna write 5 problems up on the board. You're gonna write them down real quick, and that's what you're gonna do for homework. I was gonna print you I don't want you to do a ton of these, but you do need to practice. So tomorrow I will actually teach the lesson that applies this information.
Got it.
Because you can't, listen, I can't teach the lesson that applies this information without teaching you how to do it. And the best part about this is you're going to go to Algebra 2 and you're already going to know how to do this. Okay? It's going to help, this is going to help you.
So the
Let the other
curriculum's
class
out
below
of
us know
order?
that they should probably learn something.
All right, so here's write these 5 problems down real quick, please. All right, write these 5 problems down real quick. X squared minus 4x plus 10.
Wait, did we just do?
We did. I did. Let me just give you 6.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
8.
Yeah. Excellent.
8. Do this one. X squared minus 10x plus 20. X squared plus 9. No, don't do 9. I don't want to do this yet. That'd be fun though. I'm not going to make you do fractions yet.
So that would be really fun.
Wait, is it fractions or decimals?
Fractions would be
Fractions,
easier.
always.
Plus 8x plus 15. Okay, so just do these 4 problems just for practice. Make sure you know how to complete the square. Follow your 5 steps, and you should come up with answers. Okay? All right. It's just 4. That's all you have to do tonight for homework. If you want to practice some more, practice some more. Go to